Our next session is on estate planning and will be presented by Jeff Gehring. Jeff grew up in the Philadelphia area, studied biology at Messiah University, and spent the first 15 years of his career with a major pharmaceutical company. While working there, he discovered some strategies being underutilized in finance and founded GoPlan Financial Group in order to serve families and businesses in a unique manner. The same critical thought and creative problem solving required in science he brought to financial planning. Jeff earned his Chartered Special Needs Consultant designation as a response to the observation that these communities were often underserved. The specific type of planning is very meaningful as he and his family have 11 nieces and nephews with various disabilities, including Dravet syndrome. For over a decade, he has worked to facilitate online meetings in order to make planning more accessible and easier for families, and this expands the geography his firm can support. Jeff and his wife, Robin, have been married 28 years and have 5 children.
Good day, everyone. I hope you're having a great day so far and getting a lot out of our time together. Hopefully, from what we're doing today with talking about estate planning and other considerations, you'll further some of your knowledge about how to do some things in your own family. My name is Jeff Gehring. I am with GoPlan Financial Group. That's a company that I started in 2008, and I started my planning business following a 15-year career working in the pharmaceutical industry. So I started out as a research scientist and then did some consultant work for the company prior to finishing up a 15-year career there, and then opened up GoPlan Financial Group. One of the reasons we decided to embark in the financial space was that there were some things that were being taught out there or being told to families that we were seeing were leaving some opportunities on the table. And so we wanted to come with a strategic way to teach people about money, and in a way that would help each individual, not by just putting broad models out there, but giving very specialized planning to each individual. And through that process, across time, we ended up working with some families that had some special care situations and scenarios that we had to take some deeper looks at. And then, just as a little bit more background, I do have a niece who has Dravet syndrome, and so that's something that has directly impacted our family. But beyond my niece that I'm speaking about, I have 10 other nieces and nephews that have special care considerations, and that is in a different family. My sister-in-law has adopted 10 children from various countries, lots of different things that are disabilities that we have to consider. But this is part of our family's DNA. It's part of our things that we think about. And when I saw firsthand on both my side of the family and my wife's side of the family some of these considerations, it became a passion project for our financial group to make sure that we're taking great care of families. So you can see on the screen, I'm a certified financial planner. I also did go get my designation for Chartered Special Needs Consultant because I wanted to broaden my networks and be able to have deeper resources as it relates to special planning needs. And you can see some other designations that I have. They're not as relevant, but they have to do with retirement and have to do with helping businesses with some of the planning that they do in business. So my team that I often go to help me with some of my ideas, and my extended team, you'll see at the top here, it says Mass Mutual. Mass Mutual actually has spent some significant resources to create a special care program inside of their company, and gives me some very deep resources to be able to tap into. We work with many different companies to help do the planning that we do, but Mass has been a really great partner over the years just because of their focus there. So the title of our presentation today is actually creating a special needs legal and life care plan. I think a lot of the things that we talk about today are things that maybe you've heard about or have considered, but we want to make a couple key points, and I'll try to really highlight them. We have 20 minutes to run through the information, so it'll be fairly quick. You'll see some contact information if you would like more information later on, and we're going to have a question and answer session here at the end. So just a disclosure is that this is not meant to supplant tax or legal advice. As part of a really good estate planning team, you should consult your own legal and tax counsel, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So the importance of integrated planning is that you're taking care of your own needs as the parents, but also that in some situations we have to consider our children's needs beyond perhaps age 18, age 21, 24, whatever time frame that some people think about how long they're going to have considerations for their children. So I am a big advocate, of course, of speaking with financial professionals who have special needs training. Lots of people can do investments. Okay, a lot of financial advisors say that they're financial advisors, and you come to find out that mainly it's just investment advising. You and this community would benefit from having someone who is taking a more macro level, larger top-down approach as far as considerations well beyond just your investment planning, because there are some other considerations that need to come into play. Also, attorneys with special needs experience. This is something that we don't want an attorney that just dabbles in it. We want someone who has a pretty good, solid experience. Depending on where you live in the country, you could probably get some referrals from the financial professionals that you're working with who specifically work in the special needs space. We all know attorneys and accountants who actually work together well for some of the things we're trying to accomplish for families who have these things that we're trying to make sure we're staying on top of. So accountants have some tax planning ideas, yes, but accountants that have experience with special needs planning can bring some other things to the table. And then just as far as rounding out the rest of the integrated team, having bankers that we have on the team, perhaps as it relates to trusts and things like that, sometimes come into play. Social workers and advocates, and even that expands out to the school and other resources that you can tap into. And then, of course, medical providers. These are all part of your integrated planning team. And I really feel like each member of the team is going to serve an important part to assist. So life care planning kind of works like this. There's a whole mess of things that we have to consider before age 18, and then there's a whole different set of criteria and things that we have to pay attention to after age 18. Now, you can read on the slide for yourself, like the different things to be thinking about before age 18 and after. But there's some things that are not on this slide that in my practice I find really unique and interesting. I mean, one of the things that we came across recently was just like understanding that maybe what you want for your retirement maybe can coordinate well with what you're trying to do for your child, especially in the case of a guardianship situation. So some states are better before age 18 and then not so great after age 18. And then some, it's the opposite. And so we've had a number of clients, I'm in the Philadelphia area, but we've had a number of clients who have felt that their needs were being met okay up to age 18, but then beyond 18, they weren't sure if they were going to get quite as much from the state as what they wanted to get, perhaps, and could get from other states. And so the parents' retirement plan actually was now pointed to, well, when we downsize, when we move, would it make sense to move to a state that would be more, maybe give us more opportunities after age 18? So we've had clients move out of state as their child was kind of aging out of the before age 18 mode into the age 18 mode. And some families that are actually just considering like, well, now we're here, what do we want to do next? So I think these are interesting conversations to have and just be thinking ahead. There's what we list out as 10 comprehensive planning steps. These are things that I'm sure have crossed your dashboard as you've thought about things for your family. Obviously, number one is kind of like, makes sense, address the primary issues. So whatever primary issues we see that are gaps, things that we know we really need to address those things, like that's step one of any time we start putting together a comprehensive plan for special care. Another thing I think is really important is creating a life care plan vision, like actually knowing what, I mean, based on my set of circumstances, based on my set of facts, what do we want our life care plan to look like? How do we want this to look moving forward? What's our ideal? What's our reality? And what are some things in between? That's very helpful for us as we're putting together long-term plans for families. And something that is a really, really challenging conversation and it has a lot of emotional way down, if you will, is this guardianship conversation, because guardianship is something that is not to be treated lightly. And it's also something that you really want to make sure we're doing what's in the best interest of the child, and make sure that we're being realistic about what other things we could perhaps do as alternatives. But maybe the alternatives to guardianship, maybe they're not enough. Maybe that's not going to work. So this is something we have to really be on point with as the child gets older. And then identifying the financial resources and opportunities that exist. And I want to just say that doesn't just mean at the family level. That actually goes beyond that. I have plenty of clients who tell me that they have a situation where parents are giving a set amount of money to the family to help with some things. And, you know, giving someone just $10,000 or $15,000 to be able to use and spend might not be as advantageous as putting it towards certain planning concepts that have more of a long play. Also, what the family, the generation above us has in mind in terms of inheritances and things like that is critical. We want to make sure that everything's being titled properly and handed down from generation to generation in a way that doesn't harm us in any way in terms of opportunities with some entitlement programs and things of that nature. So life care plan costs. All right, so we got this life care plan where we got our ideal in our mind. What are the costs going to be associated with this idea of how we think things are going to go moving forward? Number 6 says prepare a letter of intent. We're going to get back to that in a second, but that's something that I just, let's say you go into a room and you ask, hey, how many people have wills? And you don't see I mean, I never do that because that would be embarrassing, but like most people don't have their wills pulled together, unfortunately. Every single person that's listening to this right now, we all need to have estate plans. We don't all need to have estate tax plans because maybe that's not necessary, but we all need to have an estate plan. And if we don't, then the state essentially will tell us what it is. And so wherever possible, I like to put my family in the decision spot, not allow someone else to make the decisions for my family. So that's how I think most of my clients feel as well. So the reason I went on that little riff is because while the wills are often not done, I think people sometimes have heard of letters of intent, but it's kind of like we'll get around to it. A letter of intent is the cheat code for your child that just allows anyone walking up to be able to have the best chance of helping your child feel comfortable and loved, and all the things that you know are the important things for your child. We want to get into a document. Like I said, we're going to get to that in a second. The legal instruments, we just talked about the wills, but wills, the powers of attorney, medical directives. These are all very important things at the parent level because it explains how other things are going to work moving forward. And then number 8 says review needs for special needs trusts or ABLE accounts. ABLE accounts became like a really hot topic once they came on the scene. I can tell you that we are aware of them and we can use them, but that's not step one. And then the special needs trust, well, we have to know how we're getting to that, and we have to know how it's being funded. But also that doesn't just mean my child has special needs, so I'm just going to create a special needs trust and start funding it like crazy. That might not be necessary. There might be other techniques that could be utilized to get us where we want to get to there. Number 9, hold a family meeting, super critical. I sit down with so many families, and part of the idea of what the life care plan is involves siblings, but the siblings aren't even grown yet, and the siblings might not even be necessarily interested in signing on for what the parents are thinking might possibly be an option. So holding a family meeting that involves all members of the family that involve the life care plan, I think, is really critical. And these conversations should be ongoing, which takes us to 10, which is our life care plan is really something that should be a dynamic, moving instrument, something that minimally is handled on an annual basis. But really, anytime there's any major health changes or any financial changes, we should pick this back up and look at it and see, is it still as we thought it was moving forward? And really, the more of your team that you can have involved with that or aware of what things are being discussed in those family meetings and the life care plan, the better. The seat that I sit in is usually oftentimes playing quarterback to that. And then we make sure that the information gets sent out to the accountants and the attorneys as required. Okay, so there's really 4 main focus areas for how you want to look at segmenting out your planning. So you have family assets and planning, and that's just kind of looking at what we're doing inside of our own families, how we're going to do things there. Then we have an opportunity with employee benefits that give us certain things that we should take advantage of for sure, especially when our children are going to depend on us even beyond age 18 in some cases. Government benefits, yes. I mean, this involves means tested benefits and then also entitlements. So that's an important aspect. And then legal planning. So the wills, trust, power of attorney, special needs trusts. And even though it's not technically a legal document, that's where the letter of intent comes into play as well. So I'm going to skip through a couple of these slides because it's a reiteration of just saying what I just said. Letter of intent, I think everyone on this call probably knows what this is, but it's the why, when, how, who, everything about your child. I said it was the cheat code before. I mean that. It's not a legal document, but it is considered by the courts, and it can be as expansive as you want. You can have your hopes and dreams in there for your child. It should be updated regularly. My daughter, she will be able to function fine out in the world on her own by the time she's 18. But we do go through a series of IEPs right now with her in her schooling. And I just watch like who she likes with music or what foods she likes. These change over time. So like having a cheat code for your kid is, I think, one of the most loving ongoing documents we could provide. If for some reason we can't stand there, if we can't be there and someone else has to step in, I want to give my kids the best chance at being able to feel loved and safe and all that kind of thing. So let's see what else we got here. I'm just going to let each slide kind of linger here for a second so you can have a glance at it. All right, so on children's disability benefits, there are really 3 life events for parents. So if a parent prematurely dies before retirement, if a parent becomes disabled, or a parent becomes eligible for retirement, any one of those 3 scenarios, our children who who are reliant on us and who became disabled before the age of 22 are going to be eligible for ongoing benefits from, and some of these benefits and opportunities are state by state. So I can't know all those. I'm not an expert in all those. I have a very robust team that allows me to help know those different aspects. It's also where the attorneys come into play. But it is true that how us as parents do our Social Security personally does affect how we can take care of our family members that are going to rely on us for a while. I have Medicare. I'm not going to go into that anymore. You know, there's public assistance out there, and waivers and different programs out there available. And you know, I'm just going to close out with this as far as legal structure, guardianship, things of that nature. I think an attorney who works in this space a lot is not emotional about a situation. The financial advisor you're working with should not be emotional about the situation. That's part of the great part of having an expanded team, is that as parents, we're going to make emotional decisions about our family, and these are hard decisions sometimes. But that's why we need to rely on some professionals to come around us to help give us some examples and have us really make good choices for our family in terms of how guardianship or other things are looked at. And you know, as the medical community advances and some opportunities exist for the Dravet community, some of these things that where perhaps 10 years ago we didn't think about as deeply, we're hopefully thinking we need to pay attention to some of these long-term considerations. And so your expanded team is there for you to help with that. And hopefully some of the things I shared with you today got you thinking a little bit about some additional things and gaps that you might be able to take care of in your own family. I'll leave my contact information up here, but we're going to take some questions and hopefully come up with some good answers. And you know, as always, if there's anything that we can't answer on the live question and answer, we'll be glad to get those answers out to you moving forward. So thanks a lot for having me today, and look forward to sharing the resources we have available if you choose to reach out. So thanks. Have an awesome day.
Well, I hope everyone will join me in thanking Jeff for showing up today and talking about this really important but sometimes difficult to discuss issue. Jeff, I actually already had one question come up in the chat.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and start off with that.
Okay.
So this is a question that actually comes up often in our Facebook caregiver group, and they're asking, are there life insurance options for our kids, especially with this type of pre-existing condition?
Great. Well, hi everyone, and wanted to say it's a real privilege to be able to share with you guys the information here. As far as life insurance is concerned, the products there are certainly limited, but they're not unavailable. So there's two main things that we use in that circumstance. There's a company out there that will do like pretty much no special like circumstances, like there's not really a knockout unless if someone happened to be on hospice or happened to be like, I would just say gravely ill, like they were like that's the punch out for it. So we've been able to get children with Dravet insurance contracts there. They're not large contracts. They're usually like in the neighborhood of $25,000 to $50,000. And then there's another company out there that is, it's actually a free rider that you put on a parent's policy. So you have the parent, but really all the kids. So not just the child with Dravet, but all the kids would be on the rider. And then when the kid turns 21, then they are eligible to double up that rider and have their own policy. So there's some options out there. You have to dig pretty deep to find them. And like with all those, you're not going to go find them on the internet. Like you're not going to go click on a company. Like they're very, very specific niche products. So, if you're working with an advisor already, hopefully they can sort those out. But that's some of the work that we do with that. So I know you're waiting for questions to roll in. I just wanted to mention one other thing as it relates to any legal planning. I didn't make this in the presentation, but it was something I was thinking about afterwards. Sometimes we have a mentality about how we do certain types of planning where we say, well, it's better done than perfect. There's a lot of things in life that it's better if you just do some aspect of it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Legal planning is a little bit different than that, in that it's either complete or it's incomplete. There isn't really a middle ground on legal stuff. So whether it's wills, just regular wills, or whether it's creating the special needs trusts, which of course don't need to be funded till later. I mean, probably the best thing you could get from this presentation today is just take the steps that you need to take there. Veronica and I were actually speaking earlier, and I was saying, like, no one enjoys doing that work. In fact, the whole time you'll be like, no one can do it like dad, or like no one can do it like mom. Like we know this, but you don't want to leave it up to chance or the state to dictate how things play out. So it's kind of lame. I'll just straight up say it's lame to do the work, but my wife and I just jokingly said as we were finishing up our wills the first time, all right, so now that that's done, let's just make sure we're here for them. But obviously you can't always choose that out. And estate plans can start as soon as today. And that's something that is a little bit almost creepy to think about, but we're not promised the next day. And so with estate planning, getting to it the first of next year, like there's no rational reason to do that. Actually, to do it as soon as possible would be the suggestion. So,
yeah, I think that's absolutely a really great point, and I agree. It's so hard. It's emotionally hard. You don't want to think about it. You don't want to think about someone else caring for your loved one. You're the one who's going to do it best. But I think it's such good points that if you get it done, then you don't have to keep thinking about it. It's done. Yeah. I did have one more question. That way, I think we have time to do. So they're asking, I've been told that the legal cost for transition will be about $2,000. And does this differ state by state? I'm assuming maybe that they're referring primarily to like guardianship. I'm not sure what other.
Yeah, I think that's not a bad ballpark number. I think depending on where you are, that could be low. I mean, depending on, I'm in the Philadelphia area, but I certainly know that there are some attorneys in the Philadelphia area that probably charge more than that. And I'm not, this is like one of those things where you want to talk about it with people who are in that community and try to get referrals from maybe someone else who have done work like that. And just ask around a lot, because doing discount legal work is not always a good play. And there's forms you can get on the internet. I wouldn't put any stock in that whatsoever. I think getting a competent attorney that doesn't dabble in special needs, but actually does special needs work. And you could maybe look at it and say, well, maybe it's going to be $1,000 more than I thought it was. But like, you're not doing this work ever again, and you need it done correctly the first time. I think it's more expensive, and I've seen it so many times with my clients where they had someone try it, and then I looked at it and I was like, you need to have someone that like really knows what they're doing. So now they are paying for it anyway. So I just think doing it right from Jump Street is the way to go. And so we were talking also, like, if you're looking for who's in this community that can help, it's I said I was a chartered special needs consultant. That's not a requirement, but that's a good flag as to which financial planners have put in some extra work. And then you just want someone who's not saying that they know it all. Like I'll be the first to say, I don't know it all for sure, but I have an expansive team and I'm always going to get the right people around my clients. So that's what you want to have is dedication to making sure that we're getting the job done, no matter what state it's in. The world's flat with Zoom now. I work in every state, and we just find the right people to surround you with that. So that's kind of how a lot of us work now.
All right, Jeff, thank you so much for doing that presentation and for being able to answer some questions. I think if we see any more questions roll in, I'll be shooting you an email.
Sure.
To do some more deep dives.
Yeah. If there's any follow up, I'd be glad to try to play some tennis with that and get you the best answers we can. But best wishes, everyone, and thanks for the opportunity. I very much appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Jeff.
Okay.
With that, I'm going to hand it over to Marianne to introduce our next session and panel.